Today's episode is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you could buy a car entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to a dealership again. So next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to vroom.com, and check out thousands of great cars. But right now, I'm asking you to check out one great podcast. This is Locked On MLB. Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to the Locked On MLB, Locked On Diamondbacks crossover. It must be a Monday. It's August 1st. Guess what, folks? If you're a baseball fan, you can't dismiss where your team is in the standings by waving your hands and saying, it's April, it's May, it's June, it's July. We are officially in the final third of the season, and we're going to be talking about that and some trades that are going around and possibly some trades that could happen. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Call me Sully. Right over there is my Monday compadre, Mr. Miller Thomas from Locked On Diamondbacks. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good today, Sully. How you doing? We got some big trades to talk about, and of course the D-backs, making moves.
That's right. Well, the D-backs made a trade. I'm sitting here in the luxurious auxiliary Locked On MLB studio in Palo Alto, California, the birthplace of Oakland A's manager Bob Melvin, also the birthplace of Jock Peterson, the outfielder for the Giants, who probably won't be an outfielder for the Giants for much longer. Hey, where can people follow your show?
You can follow my show on all podcasting platforms. Follow Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube, and follow my personal account on Twitter at CreatorThomas24, and follow the show accounts. Just look up Locked On Diamondbacks across all social media channels.
And check us out, Locked On MLB Pod. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. So it's August 1st. By the way, I just wanted to say some quick things before we get going here. Lots of nostalgia going around. I'm here in the Bay Area. They had a huge night for Will Clark, who was a gigantic part of the Giants' resurgence in the late 1980s and was their most popular player. And it's just a fun, impossible not to root for hitter. And he still is a funny, larger-than-life figure. For people who are Giant fans in the 80s, it's funny. There are players who are part of certain fan bases who are never going to be Hall of Famers, but who mean everything to that fan base, the way Dale Murphy does for Braves fans from the 80s, Don Mattingly. Just ask Stacey Gotsulias, who's in my general age range, what Don Mattingly meant to Yankee fans at that time. Well, that was Will Clark. Remember the Giants, when they made it to the playoffs in 87, it was the first time since 1971 they played in October. And Will Clark was the MVP of the National League Championship Series in 1989, which was the first pennant the Giants won since 1961 or 62. I'm sorry. So he was really instrumental in basically reigniting a Giants franchise that was dormant in the late 70s and throughout the first part of the 80s. So it was great to see his number retired and see him be honored. And by the way, I'm not a Yankee fan, but the Yankees do Old Timers Day really well. They bring back all the old heroes. I'll tell you what's kind of startling for me, though, because when I lived in New York all those years, I used to love watching Old Timers Day. My mother grew up a big Yankee fan, big fan of Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford and all of them. And you would see them at the Old Timers Day. So I always felt there was a connection to that previous generation. Well, now when you see the old timers and it's Bernie Williams and Paul O'Neill and Jorge Posada, wait a minute, I remember when they were rookies. How old am I? What's happening? It is kind of sobering when you no longer have I was there when Joe DiMaggio was introduced, and out he comes. And so now it's think of that old timer, Mariano Rivera. Oh God, I'm old.
Are those guys younger than you, Sully? Is that what's making you feel a little bit older?
Well, they're in my ballpark. Yeah. Well, what's players younger than me start showing up to Old Timers Day? Yeah. That's sobering. But it was a fun weekend with a lot of games going around there. And but now there's that you look around and you think, okay, is this the last game in the uniform for this player or that player? I have to say, let's just get right off the bat. The first big trade that was fired across the bow, and I was actually really surprised that it happened this early in the process, was Luis Castillo being shipped from Cincinnati to Seattle. They must have a close connection, those GMs, because they pulled up the big trade earlier this year. Why am I blanking on everybody's name? You know what I'm talking about. The
Eugenio Suarez, Jesse Winker.
Thank you. Yeah, Suarez. I said Senso. I meant to say Suarez. But Castillo was sent packing to Seattle, who came from behind to finally beat the Astros the other day. But this was an interesting move that was made. Let's talk a little bit about the Cincinnati got a nice haul, certainly in terms of volume. Yeah. And the Mariners got a solid major league pitcher.
Yeah, when you look at it, from that standpoint, in terms of the return, if you're the Cincinnati Reds, you're getting back 3 of the top 5 prospects in the Mariners organization, 3 highly rated guys. So the Reds are like, okay, if we're trading, our best starting pitcher, at least we're getting that package of prospects back, all really high ceiling, high value guys. So you like that if you're the Cincinnati Reds. Then if you're the Mariners, you're now getting Luis Castillo, who's a legit frontline number 1, number 2 starter. You get to pair him with a guy like Robbie Ray. You get to pair him with a guy like Logan Gilbert, who's having a pretty good season. That rotation is pretty good with the Mariners. It was already pretty nice before they got Luis Castillo. Now you're adding Luis Castillo to that rotation to pair with the other guys. The Mariners are all in on making the postseason this year. They may not make it to the World Series, but guess what? That does not matter if you're Seattle. Your main objective right now is to win as many games and get to the postseason, and let's break the curse. You have to start building momentum, and if you're the franchise, you have to start winning games and building toward something. If you ever want to get to a World Series, you have to first make the postseason. So I think this is a good move to do that, to make the playoffs. And if I'm the Mariners fans, yes, giving up prospects can hurt sometimes, but guess what? Who cares about prospects? When the D-backs traded Zach Greinke, they got back 3 of the top 5 prospects in the Astros organization. JB Berskakis, Corbin Martin, and Seth Beer. Guess what? We're still waiting for those guys to make it to the major league level and make an impact like 4 years later. The best guy from that deal so far has been Josh Rojas, who is like a prospect in the 20s in that organization. So if you're the Mariners, don't care about prospects giving up. It's about winning, and Luis Castillo can help you win games right now. Boom.
This is going to make a weird comparison, but I remember down the stretch in 2013, the Pittsburgh Pirates acquired Justin Morneau from the Twins, and they needed another veteran bat. And the Pirates and Morneau played very well in his half season in Pittsburgh, but it was a similar thing. At that point in 2015, the Pirates hadn't even had a winning season since 1992. It was getting ridiculous, and they were like, "Look, we just need to get. Doesn't matter who we give up. We need to fill a hole. We need to at least get people saying you haven't had a winning season since 1992." And that year, the Pirates got to the division series. In fact, they got to one. They were once McCutcheon's swing away from going to the NLCS in 2013. But you sometimes have to get a franchise off the schneid. You just have to get whatever it takes to get this team off the hook. And with Seattle, who hasn't seen postseason games since 2001, Ichiro's rookie season. This was you just had to. They had to pull the trigger. I think it was a smart deal for Seattle. A couple of smaller. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, because even though like the prospects might have been like pretty highly rated, like the guy Marte, who everyone felt like was the main centerpiece of this deal, maybe a little bit too rich to be given up in a Castillo trade. Like, he's 20 years old. He's in high A right now. That guy might not make it to the major league level for another 3 to 4 years. Robbie Ray, big money right now to help you win games. So this is a win now team. And so I'm not caring about prospects giving up. That's going to make an impact for me 4 years down the line, because 4 years from now, it's going to be a completely different team. My timeline might be completely screwed up. So I'm glad the Mariners are doing all in moves right now.
A couple of smaller moves. The Yankees picking up Benintendi. I mentioned that the other day. That's going to have, that's a smart move. They're probably going to find someone to dump Gallo onto. My prediction is he's going to go to Milwaukee and it's probably going to be a salary dump. The Yankees will probably pick up some of the cost. I think it'll be a great move for whoever picks him up to get, a talented offensive player who will have the burden of failing in New York lifted from their shoulders and say, give us some, 2 solid months. The Mets picking up Tyler Naquin, depth. Some of these moves are just depth. Jojo Romero for Edmundo Sosa, Phillies Cardinals swap of 2 of the most fun names to say out loud. Chris Martin, who was part of the Braves bullpen last year, is now going to the Dodgers. And then let's go to the other move, which was Tampa Bay needed a bat, and so off they went to Arizona. Break it down for us, Millard.
Yeah, David Peralta heading out. Franchise icon is being traded to Tampa Bay. I kind of thought maybe a team like the New York Mets could have been in on David Peralta because they kind of struggle against right-handed pitching as well, but they went out and got Tyler Naquin. But for the D-backs, I mean, the return, of course, 18-year-old catcher. Let me say this, I wasn't expecting a big haul. I acknowledge that. I know David Peralta is going to be a free agent in a couple months. He's a rental, mid-30s. I was not expecting a Luis Castillo level package for David Peralta. Okay, I'm not a dummy, but was I expecting maybe a dart throw at a pitcher or at least a position of need like a first baseman in the organization? Because the D-backs, the 2 positions the D-backs have pretty much locked up for the future is outfield and catcher, with Dalton Varsho and Carson Kelly. If things go right, the catcher position is one that the D-backs do not have to worry about for the next 8 years. So taking a dart throw on a catcher who has put up pretty good numbers, but in rookie ball, I just don't understand that aspect from the D-backs front office. If you're going to do a dart throw on some 18-year-old rookie prospect that's barely played in the minor leagues, then you should go after a pitcher, especially because, Sully, we've talked about the Tampa Bay Rays are the terminators of Major League Baseball when it comes to producing pitchers. And you have Brent Strom in your organization. He's the pitching whisperer. So if I could get a pitcher from the Rays organization, some random 18-year-old, and eventually move him up through my system and get him with Brent Strom, that's what I want as a D-backs fan. A catcher for a franchise icon, an 18-year-old catcher in rookie ball for a franchise icon, David Peralta, who I know is not an all-star, but still top 5 in basically every category in D-backs franchise history. I just felt like the return was a little light, and I'm not saying the D-backs should got a package of prospects back, but at least a pitcher or a first baseman, an area of need that the D-backs need, because they are starving for pitchers in their organization.